Hello everyone, this is my 7-round NFL mock draft for the Detroit Lions using PFF's mock draft simulator. One quick note, this is a GM mock draft, and what that means is I'm in no way trying to predict or prognosticate what the actual GM Bob Quinn is going to do in this 2020 draft. I am simply making selections based on the players and positions that I like and I think would really improve and help this Detroit Lions team. Okay, so with that being said, let's jump right in. At pick number 6, I selected Jeffrey Okudah, cornerback, Ohio State University. And excuse me, but another quick note, I'll get to both of the trades that I made in this simulator after I talk about all of the prospects. So you want to jump past probably about 10 minutes in this video, and that's where I'll be talking about that if you're only interested in that aspect. Okay, so back to Mr. Okudah. Look at the tape. Last year, he shut down Jalen Reagor out of TCU. This year, he shut down T. Higgins out of Clemson. He's consistently is amazing. I mean, you run out of superlatives in the dictionary when talking about this Jeffrey Okudah prospect and player. He's just a really, really good cornerback. He's the best one in this draft, in my opinion, and my opinion is not unique in any regard. I think he's considered the best prospect or cornerback prospect in this draft by just about everyone out there. And he fits the Lions scheme, Patricia, the Bill Belichick tree scheme, to a T. Man corner, press man. He's gonna be very good, okay? So let's move on to the next selection, number 35. I took Michael Pittman Jr., wide receiver, USC, University of Southern California. I wasn't really super in love with all of the options there at that point for the Lions. So I went with Pittman. I think this is higher than a lot of other mocks or people have him going, but he's a guy that I really, really like. There are a couple of concerns with him, but let's first do the positive aspects of his game. He gets open a ton, he's super productive, and his speed is good for his weight level and his size. He's like 6'4.5", about 223, somewhere in that range, and he runs a 4.5 or a 4.52 40. And you can see that on tape, like he can move. He's got some speed to him, a little bit of juice, as Mr. Gale or Mike Renner might say. He's got deceptive speed, let's say, or something like that. I mean, I don't think he's Alshon Jeffrey, but if you look at his size, speed, weight combination, it's pretty close to that. Another good aspect to his game is he never drops balls. He was like targeted like 150 times or something and had like 3 drops in his career, or somewhere in that ballpark. You throw him the ball, he's going to catch it. He gets open primarily in that intermediate area, and I think that fits maybe a bit of a need that the Lions don't have. I'm not exactly sure with their wide receiver core with Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay, if those guys are more speed receivers or slot guys or whatever. So I'm not exactly sure of the fit that he does in that wide receiver locker room, but overall, I think he's at least like a number 2 on any team just about. The concerns with Pittman, though, are he's 23 years old. He didn't really do much before this year, and that's a bit concerning. Also, at the Senior Bowl, he didn't show out like a Denzel Mims did. He struggled a little bit, I think, with the cornerbacks there. And the cornerbacks at the Senior Bowl this year were not exactly the cream of the crop. They were subpar by normative standards, or normal standards, I suppose. But anyway, overall, the risk versus reward, I think Pittman is worth. I would even take him like in the end of the first round. So okay, that's enough about him. At number 37, I selected Kayvon Wallace, or Kayvon Wallace. That was a Freudian slip or a brain fart. Clavon Chason, edge, LSU, Louisiana State University. I don't love this guy because his production is really, really up and down. He has these amazing physical traits, but it doesn't show up consistently. I selected him here because I didn't see another player there in the simulation that was really better. So also, Detroit really could use some edge help. Trey Flowers is, of course, really good, but besides Trey Flowers, I don't even know who the other guy is. So they can certainly use an upgrade there. And Chason has some potential. 67, I selected Bryce Hall, cornerback, Virginia University. He's another press man corner. He's a lot slower than Okudah. Otherwise, he might be ranked up there with Okudah. He also had an injury this past year, so there's not a ton of tape on him from this year. But last year, I think 2 years ago, technically it would be. He has a lot of tape from that season, I believe. He's really, really good in that press man coverage scheme, and that's what the Lions run. Getting him at 67, I view him as a top 50 player. He's incredibly smart, and I think that's a really underrated trait that can help a cornerback succeed, especially a cornerback like Hall, because he's not the fastest guy in the world. He does have tremendous arm length. I think actually he has if I'm not mistaken, Okudah and Hall are the top two players with the longest arms in this draft, and that's also what scouts look for really big time with press man corners. So he fits that to a T. And sure, there's Trufant and Justin Coleman, so maybe they don't really need a cornerback there, but the more corners, the better, I think, because it's a depth position. It's a position that you need the third, fourth, fifth guy to be really good as well, or at least not really good, but they need to be at least average, otherwise the offense can pick on them. Okay, let's try and move a bit quicker here. At 71, I selected J.K. Dobbins, running back, Ohio State University. Honestly, I didn't like any of the other players there, and I usually hate taking a running back in the top 120 picks because I don't think the value is there at all, but I really like Dobbins a lot, and I'm like, screw it, I'll just select him. So they got a ton of picks. I did not like anyone else on the board, so I'm like, look here, I think he can be a really good player and add a lot. So there you go for that. At 80, I selected Davon Hamilton, defensive tackle, Ohio State University. He's a guy who I think has a bit of juice, has good size, doesn't hold up to the double team super well, but that's not a ton of defensive tackles in general anyway. This is a Ohio State draft for the Detroit Lions, certainly. I think he's a really nice player. Has some decent technique, some decent juice, decent strength. So overall at 80, I don't love it, but like I said before, with the 71st pick and Dobbins, I didn't really like a ton of the value and need fit for the Lions with the available players there. And at 80, it was kind of the same thing. So I'm like, this guy's not horrible. He's a top 120 player for me. So I think the Lions can use some interior defensive lineman as well. So then at selection 85, I took Robert Hunt, guard, Louisiana. He's a guy that honestly I haven't watched tape on. He's just he's rated fairly highly, about in this range by a lot of different draft boards, I think. And again, didn't love the board at this point. And the Lions do need to replace Graham Glasgow, that went to the Denver Broncos. So I took Hunt there. I'm like, you know what? At worst, hopefully he'll be an average interior lineman. Not the best, but not the worst pick in the world. Final two picks at 149, I took Albert O, tight end, University of Missouri. I really love this guy. I do. He's got fantastic speed for his size. He's 250 pounds, but does not move like that. Runs in the 4.5s, like 4.5 flat. His issue is lack of production. He only made about 3 or 4 catches a game and gained about between 40 and 50 yards. So the worrisome aspect is that he didn't get targeted, he didn't get thrown the ball, didn't have a ton of catches every game. But the nice thing is that every time he caught the ball, he made like a 15-yard reception. So I think up the seam, he's going to stretch the defense. He's going to test the defense, and that's something that the Detroit Lions don't have at tight end. T.J. Hawkinson is really, really solid player, but he's more of an overall solid, does everything above average, but nothing elite. Okudah, Mr. O, let's call him. He is elite with the size and speed combination that he has. He can get up on linebackers and safeties and really make them respect that deep middle of the field. So that's why I selected him there, and he's a player I love. Finally, 166, I selected Brandon Jones, safety, University of Texas. He's a guy that when I turn on the tape, I go, decent instincts, solid above average tackling, and so I go, hey, doesn't suck. If you've listened to any of my other draft analysis and mock drafts, you know, that's my criteria for once we get past 150 about if I turn on the tape and I go, looks decent, doesn't suck. I think he could, you know, maybe make a roster. Then I'll select him. I'll take him. Okay. Now let's get down to these trades that I made. The first one was, I think it's very realistic as well, if the Chargers are interested in a quarterback. I have no idea if they are or not, but if they are, this is a very fair trade. Detroit gets the 6th pick, the 37th, 71st, and then a second round selection for next year. And then the Los Angeles Chargers move up to number 3 to select a quarterback. That's very similar to like a couple of years ago when the Jets traded 3 second-round picks along with their 5th overall pick to move up from 5 to 3 with the Indianapolis Colts. And I think there's one or two other examples of a similar trade. So this is quite similar. There's 2 second-rounders, and I think that's a early 3rd rounder, the 71st. So it's very close to compensation that other teams have received for a similar kind of top 10 trade up for a quarterback. So I was going for realism here. I didn't want to like kind of scheme the system, because I know that this simulator sometimes you can really, really get huge hauls when you trade back that are kind of unrealistic. And then final trade I did was at number 80. I actually traded up because I did really like past about 120. I don't like selecting the players, I'm not a huge fan of the players available at that point. Once you get past about 100, 120 players, they're all you shrug your shoulders and go, he's okay, I guess. And in the top 100, I just feel a lot more comfortable, a lot more confident in their ability to be, at minimum, a replacement level player. So I traded up. PFF really doesn't like me trading 109, 182, and 235 to go up 29 spots. I think it's okay to go from 109 to 80 and give up like a 6th and 7th round pick to do that. I think that's fine. I don't know. Anyway, so overall, I think this would be a draft with a lot of players in a lot of positions that could really help out the Lions, help them actually make the playoffs for the first time in a number of years. So I would like to just close by thanking everyone that stuck through me. This is 16 minutes long. You've been listening to me for that long. I got to find your house, buy you a beer, and shake your hand, sir or lady or whoever it is that's watching and listening to this video. Thank you very much. You have a wonderful day.